Hi everyone, thank you for joining us today on our next webinar series as we look through Teams calling and the options. Today we're going to cover off meeting rooms and audio conferencing. We've been getting a lot of questions over the last few weeks around what the options are, what the licensing requirements are, what you can and can't do, and how to provision. So today we want to cover off on all of this for you in this session. So we might just wait a couple of minutes, like about another 2 minutes, as I can still see a couple of people are still joining, and then we'll get kicked off. Okay, I can see a bunch more people have joined. Let's get started. I don't want to waste too much of your time. I know everyone's probably on their lunch break. So let's get started. So as I said before, we're going to look at meeting rooms and then also into audio conferencing. So a bit of an agenda today. We'll go over meeting rooms, some of the cool new features that have been released in July last month. Some of the hardware options, what hardware you've got for meeting rooms. We'll go through the licensing, what licensing you need to provision. We'll then do, as we normally do, a step-by-step deep dive into provisioning a meeting room, and then we'll jump into audio conferencing, again, the licensing around that, how to set that up, and then some common questions we see people ask, and then jump into a Q&A. So as always, in the live event, there is the Q&A section in the live event. Feel free to publish your questions there at any time. We'll try and cover them as we're running through, or if not, we'll cover off with them at the end. So let's get started. So Teams calling meeting room overview, what we're talking about is your standard meeting room. So as we all know, we can have a call on our own Teams client and add multiple people to it and have a meeting. When we're talking meeting rooms, we're actually talking like your huddle rooms and your bigger meeting rooms where you used to have like your video conferencing, like your Plantronics, your Cisco, your Polycoms, your Lifesize, your Starleaf. All that video conferencing setup we can now bring into Microsoft Teams and make it a single experience so a single click to join, and really easy for staff members and clients to actually join that meeting room. They can be a one-time meeting where you walk in, start a new meeting, or a simple a one-touch join. So as you can see on the right-hand side, that's what the meeting room client will look like. So most of the hardware offerings, we're going to look specifically at the A-Link ones today, but most of the offerings all have a similar touchscreen display. All looks the same. It's all managed by Microsoft, that client. And as you can see, if there's a scheduled meeting, they can walk in and single click join. This is the biggest frustration we've seen in previous years in dealing with video conferencing, is that customers are always struggling to find the join button, how to join messages, meetings, dial in. That if the meeting room's invited, they can simply just walk in and hit join and jump straight into that meeting, or vice versa. They can, if they're in there, they can tap and go new meeting. Some of the cool features are there. So we've actually got a little video from Microsoft here. Let's see if this will actually play. A YouTube video. I'm just going to see if technology is going to allow me to play this. Doesn't look like it is. that just explains that meeting room experience, but it doesn't look like it's going to let me run. Let me see if I can run it straight from PowerPoint. Play. Look like it wants to let me. Bit annoying. How? Let me just bring it up in YouTube and send it through. Bit annoying. Always works when you trial it beforehand. Always works, but now it doesn't. So let me just shoot this across.
Modernize your
just across here so you guys can see it. It's a great introduction from Microsoft just around meeting rooms, what can and can't actually be done.
Modernize your meetings and work like you're in one place with Microsoft Teams Rooms. Teams meetings are simple to schedule. In Outlook, just press the Teams meeting button to turn your meeting into a Teams meeting. Microsoft Teams Rooms replaces your conference phone and adds an HD audio-video experience to your meeting rooms. With just one touch, join a Teams meeting and instantly connect with every participant. Take control of your meeting by managing the attendee roster and functions, like muting participants' microphones. You can join a Teams meeting from anywhere, whether you're in the office or on the go. Display wirelessly to easily project content both in the room and to remote participants. Or use your mobile device to easily share and drive content into the Teams meeting. Add other colleagues to your meeting from the directory or by calling their phone number. Microsoft Teams Rooms from leading device manufacturers work in a wide range of room sizes, from huddle spaces to large conference rooms. Microsoft Teams Rooms transform every meeting.
So it's just a little bit of an overlay from Microsoft in what is available in this space. We've just gone through and pulled out some of the really cool features we've seen when we worked with partners to do demonstrations for customers and talking around it as we've played with this hardware. What we've seen really nice is the biggest feedback we've seen is the easeability in using it. As you jump into a meeting, as I said, you've got your simple one-touch join. You can simply, if the meeting room's been invited, as you jump in the boardroom or the meeting room, it's already on the screen. You simply click the button and join, and you're instantly in there. You don't have to remember conference IDs and dial-in codes anymore. It's seamlessly just integrated. As soon as you jump in, it's a single touch. There's also a new cool feature. Depending on this one is a bit dependent on what meeting room setup you've got and tablet or PC that you're using, but it's add a nearby meeting room. So you can actually walk into, say, one of your boardrooms where you have one of the certified hardware running. If you're running the Teams client on your phone, you can detect that if you've got a meeting, you can then sit there and go, oh, I've got a meeting room nearby, and click here to add that meeting room. So it'll singly add that boardroom straight into that meeting for you. It saves you having to go and invite it or join it or anything like that. Just makes that user experience really nice. As we jump forward a bit, as we look into the hardware, so there's a couple of different things to look when we're talking meeting rooms, hardware, and you've kind of got two different verticals to start with. You've got just your audio conferencing. So if you just got a customer that wants to do traditional just audio conferencing, but still have that meeting room experience type setup, you've actually got your Yealink CP960, which is your audio conferencing. So it still has that smaller 4.inch, I think 3.2 inch screen that will give you that meeting single join and all that sort of functionality from the meeting room perspective, but it's purely just that audio conferencing. You then set them up to a lot of businesses now doing like your single one-person huddle rooms, or you may have an exec who wants an actual video phone. So you can jump up to the VP39 now, which is Teams certified. So it's got the video camera built in, so that can be part of running your huddle meeting rooms. So like your single person or your small meeting rooms where you might have a large TV set up or anything. And then you can then set up into the MVC 500s and 800s, which are your larger boardroom type setups. where you have the camera and speakers mounted down the front. On the table, you've got your lovely touch screen to drive the whole experience. You've got your Yalink connectivity box, so you can plug in any third-party devices to stream into that meeting. So HDMI, mini display port plug-in, and then you can also get it with wireless additional speakers for those larger meeting rooms. So you really got that full spectrum. The 800 and 500 are pretty much the same, except for the camera changes, the optical zoom on the camera. It really comes down to the size of the room and which is the right hardware around that. And Yalink has a lot of information around sizing and auto dynamics and additional speaker pods that you can find on their website. Or feel free to reach out to the team at Switch Connect. We're more than happy to help you work out what is that right platform for rolling out. But they all operate exactly the same, but obviously the CP960 is just that audio conferencing ability. Vice versa, the video one can also do audio conferencing as well as video. You've then got those options. Licensing overview, everyone goes, how do you license a meeting room? So in the old way, you used to create like you probably used to how you do your meeting rooms now in Microsoft Exchange. You create a resource account and then everyone just invites that and that auto accepts. So that operates exactly the same with Teams meeting rooms, but there is actually a special license for meeting rooms. So you can license it if you do have spare E3 and E5 licenses lying around. You can use them for meeting rooms, but there is a special meeting room license, standalone license by itself. So it is $20.60 Australian, which is the default. That may vary depending on what your licensing model is that you're currently rolling on. And what that actually includes for you, so it includes phone systems, the Microsoft Teams, the Intune to manage the box, and it also includes the audio conferencing. So basically, you get phone system and audio conferencing bolted into that meeting room license that you can then assign to your resource accounts to actually get going. If you're looking for it, some customers have had some trouble finding it. It's actually listed under other services when you look in the Microsoft catalog. It actually comes under other services where the phone system and phone system virtual user comes on under add-on licenses. So it's a little bit tricky to find, but that is where you will find it moving forward. How to go and set it up. A couple of things, really 5 simple steps that we've got it down to, and we'll step through this now, is obviously create the resource account, so that meeting room account, assign the meeting room license. You've got the optional setup where you can assign a number via Teams calling plan. So we can assign a Teams calling plan if you want a direct number for that phone. If you not just want to use the audio conferencing bridge feature, you simply then reset the password for that user, and then from your chosen piece of hardware, you log in. So we actually wanted to jump into this in a deep dive to show you what this actually looks like. So I'm just going to bring over my browser. Let me just reshare this for you so you guys can see. There you go. So you should be able to see my browser now. So I'm actually logged into the Office 365. So what I'm going to do, I've already got a couple of meeting rooms set up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to increase my license count by another one. So I'm going to actually order that meeting room license. So you're going to order another one so I can step you through this in real time. So that's fine. So what we want to do is in our normal admin portal, we want to go down to resources and rooms and equipment. You'll see I've already got some meeting rooms set up. So I want to go another one. I want to set this up as a room account. I'm going to give it a test. So I'm going to call this training meeting room. I can type. It gives it a name. You can set capacity, location, phone number information, and then when you scroll down, you'll have a meeting room license. So we want to turn on that meeting room license and simply go add. Then Microsoft will go off and do its thing. simplifies that if we jump back here. So we've created the resource account, we've assigned the license. Now, if you want to assign a direct phone number to it, you use the exact same like command as you use for provisioning Teams calling. So you set CS user online, enable enterprise voice by PowerShell, and assign it a phone number. It's exactly that same command. Now, a couple of things to note here. You'll see there's a getting started link, give you some information. I can also go and set some scheduling rules. So your default scheduling, who do you want it to auto accept? Do you want to set delegate members and everything? That can all be set by here. So once that is all set up, that's my meeting room set up. Now, if I want to use that account to then actually go and log in from a piece of hardware, you need to go and reset the password for this user, because it's actually a shared mailbox. You need to be able to actually log into it. So what we want to do is go up to users and go active users. And then we want to go and search here, search for my training meeting room. And I want to actually come in here. You'll see under licenses, should have here my meeting room assigned to it. Interesting enough, it didn't actually assign it. So I actually want to tick here again and actually save those changes. For some reason it didn't actually assign my license, which is interesting. So I actually want to go and assign that license. Once I've signed that license, I can then go and reset the password. So signing is now live. So I just want to go and reset that password. I'm just going to auto generate one. When I hit reset, that's now giving me my credentials. So when I fired up my video conferencing unit, plugged it all in, or my CP960 or handset, I'd actually log in with that username and password to my actual conferencing unit, and then that would then log into this account, and that's ready to go. So it's quite a simple setup. The only trick where we find people normally get caught out is assigning that license, and just make sure if you do want to give it a direct in dial that you can call it directly. By default, it won't have one. You'll get one through the audio conferencing bridge, which we'll cover off shortly, but you actually don't get a direct in dial number for it. You've actually got to go and enable it through Teams calling. So you just use the normal enablement line that you'd use to enable a normal user. You use that exact same license, that exact same command. So the set CS online user, and then set the identity and enable enterprise voice and give it a SIP URI and enable it that same way. And then it will have a phone number and it will appear in the client. And then the dial pad will appear that you can actually dial out straight from that phone. So it's one of the cool features that are there that you can actually dial straight out from it. So that's really setting up a meeting room, which is pretty straightforward. We're just going to jump through the next thing. So audio conferencing, what we're talking about here, as you know, when you normally send out your meeting invite, here's one we send out. You now get this, normally you get the join Teams meeting, but if you've got audio conferencing, you'll notice you get a toll-free number and a conference ID down here. So this is what actually sends out to your end customers, and people can actually dial in from a mobile phone. When they click it, Microsoft has been really great and put the commas and the conference ID so they can single click join. So when we're talking audio conferencing, we're talking for external parties to actually dial in via a conference bridge. If you actually click on the numbers as well, Microsoft has a whole bunch of numbers all around the world. So if you click on local numbers, you can pick up a number in any region around the world. So if you are doing global business and customers want a local number in, say, the US to dial into audio conferencing, they can just hit that local numbers, grab the local US number to them and dial in, and then type in that meeting ID. We will cover off later on how you change that. The default current number in Australia, you'll notice everyone has the same number, is actually an O2 number. There is only an O2 number, but we will cover off later how you can actually change that to have a local regional number. I know a couple of partners have asked about that. So the actual license that you need to order is called audio conferencing. Now, if you've provisioned your Teams calling on either an E-Series 1 or 3 license, you don't get audio conferencing by default. It is a bolt-on, so it is a $5.50 a month bolt-on. if you've got an E5 license, you will already have audio conferencing. It actually comes bundled in. And obviously, if you've got the meeting room license, you automatically get audio conferencing. So one other thing to note about the audio conferencing license is you actually get 60 minutes worth of dial out credits per audio conferencing license that you have provisioned. So if you have 10 audio conferencing licenses provisioned, you will get 600 minutes of outbound calling credits. So it does pool all those credits together, which will show you shortly. When you're in a meeting room, as you saw in the video before, you can either add people from within the organization, so other direct users in Teams, or you can have it dial out to users and actually dial someone's mobile number or external number to dial them into that audio conference. So, and that does use minutes. That's not using calling via Teams calling via Switch Connect. It actually is using calling credits via Microsoft. So by default, you do get 60 minutes per audio conferencing. So if you've got a couple of audio conferencing, you will get a bunch of minutes. And then you can enable calling credits, which is a pay-as-you-go calling credit option. If you need to make additional minutes, you can assign to it. Otherwise, if you run out of minutes, you'll just lose the ability to make outbound calls. But will never stop your ability external customers ringing in. It's just the ability for you to type in their PSTN number and call them out. How to provision it's pretty straightforward. You order the licensing, you then assign the licensing. There's a bunch of policies which we'll go through how to configure them, and then you can also configure the bridge. So if we jump back to our environment, to assign those licenses is pretty straightforward. Jump in here. If we look at Craig, our channel manager's license, don't need 5. Trying to find someone that's got one. Here you go. So Andrew, our sales manager, if you look under his licensing options, you'll see he's got an E1 license, he's got the phone system bolt-on, and he's also got the audio conferencing bolt-on as a license. So once you've enabled that, that's pretty straightforward. The rest of the configuration is then done in the Teams admin portal. So once you jump into the Teams admin portal, I can go into my users. And when you bring up your list of users, you'll see whether they've got audio conferencing turned on or off. So if I jump into my user, sorry, I need to break mine. You'll see I've got audio conferencing turned on and phone system. So I can jump into here and you'll see I'll have an audio conferencing box here. So there's a bunch of settings I can turn on. Do I want to turn it on or off? When I edit this, do I want to turn audio conferencing in and off? I can select the default number that will appear into this. So if I am, say I'm part of the Australian tenant, but I'm based out of Wellington, New Zealand, I can have my default number show up as the New Zealand number. There's just a simple change here. You just change that default number here. Dial-in options, who can be come in, and this is where you get that dial-out option. Do you want to allow that dial-out option? So I can turn it off, only allow for domestic calls or allow for domestic and international dial-out rules. So I've got one set to domestic calls only. So that's where I get my audio conferencing setting. There are a bunch of policies in which you can set around this. So if you jump in under meetings and then under conference bridge, you do get a bunch of other bridge settings. So if I come in here, I can go bridge settings. Do you want notifications when people enter and exit meeting rooms? Do you want them to have to announce their names? Do you want PIN code length and things like that? Automatically send updates. So there are a bunch of cool settings that you can see here. You can also come in here and see the list of global numbers. Couple of other things in here just to check through, just to familiarize yourself with, is around policies. So you do have a bunch of meeting policies. Sorry, my portal just seems to be a bit slow today. Clicking through, so if I jump in, you do have a bunch of policies here in who can start meetings, join meetings, the auto emit. So you've got the lobby feature who can share content and stuff in meetings, if you got whiteboard functionalities and things like that. So there are a bunch of settings in here. The other thing is there is an Outlook add-in when you're scheduling meetings, which we'll show you shortly and how to schedule it. So just do you allow that? So there's a bunch of settings in here, even when you go into meetings. As you saw, my invite had a logo in it. So that's put in the email invitation. You can update the footer, you can update the help URL, legal URL, and chuck in some logo. There's also some information around networking. Do you want specific support ranges? It's getting a little bit complicated there. If you want to run a live event, I'll show you how to set one of them up shortly, similar to what we're doing now. This is where you come in and do that, so that there's a bunch of live events. You'll notice today you should see on the live event subtitles turned on. So I did turn on the new preview feature of subtitles. So in here you've got the ability, do you want to who can automatically record, and in live events you can set permissions in what works and what doesn't work, and there's a bunch of third-party stuff that you can turn on. So there's a bunch of policies in here, I will say, to get yourself familiar with it, because there is a lot of settings in which you can set up. So that's basically audio conferencing that is utilized by the meeting rooms and everything like that. Fairly easy to set up. There is a lot of permission-based things that you can actually set up, which are really, really nice. So we might just jump back to the PowerPoint quickly. Some of the common questions that we get asked are, can I have a regional based conference number? So say I'm based in Queensland or Northern Territory or WA and I want to have a local based number. Can you assign one? Yes, and I'll go and shine that shortly. Do I have to assign a number to my meeting room? No, you don't. You don't have to assign a number by Teams calling or direct routing to that meeting room. It's an optional step for you depending on how you want that meeting to function. If you just want to always invite them to a meeting and join, then you don't need that. But if you do want them to dial into that phone, it's normally on like the CP960 where you want people to dial into that audio conferencing. You may want to have a direct number. Can you call out by audio conferencing? Yes, you can. It is based on that 60 minutes per license. And then you've got the ability to do pay-as-you-go credits on top of that. If you need any more information about that, feel free to reach out to our team. We're more than happy to step you through that. Just want to cover off this one. We get asked this quite a lot. Can you have a regional based number on a conference bridge? The answer is yes. How you set it up is a little bit convoluted, but we'll quickly step through it. If you jump into your Teams admin portal and go back to the legacy portal, sorry, it just takes a while. And then you go into voice and phone number. If you see, I've got a bunch of different global phone numbers. So I've got say a Auckland, New Zealand number. You click on that number and then go assign. I can then assign that to my conference bridge, and then I can also use this as my default number. So I can simply tick that, and then that will allow you to go out and assign that as your default conference bridge number. So when your invites go out, it will appear as that number, not the default number that is currently set. So that is how you do it. So it definitely is possible, and you can order numbers in any region around the world through here, through the default Microsoft setting. You go add service number, and then follow the wizard through, and then you can go and order those numbers. So that is one other thing. So that's really all we had today. We just want to step you through that. There's a lot of stuff there. It is worth having a play around with those policies. There are a lot that you can set, and it's all going to be based on the privacy around what your customers wish to do. But that's pretty much it. It's really, really straightforward. Setting up the boardroom setup. The most complex thing is plugging the actual cables in, but actually getting it to work and doing the training on it is really, really simple. So I hope that's helped everybody out, understanding a bit more. If anyone has any questions, feel free to post them now. We've still got a bit of time if you want us to cover off any other questions. Just while we're waiting for that, you'll see here I can then go and select my regions around the world, and it will tell me the ability to order phone numbers, and I can simply just order the quantity in what you can do. The number of numbers that you can acquire is based on the number of licenses. So by default, you get 6 for anything up to, I think it's about 30 365 users. Once you go over 30, you then get more. But that's basically how that works. I'm not sure if anyone's got any other questions. I haven't seen any posted yet. But feel free, if you do have any questions or want any more information, please feel free to reach out. We're more than happy to step you through the options and go through what those options are for you and your customer. But thank you for joining us today. One thing I will say too is if you're looking for the recordings of these videos, if you jump onto our website, couple of things in where you can keep up to date in latest news and information from Switch Connect. If you jump onto our website, down the bottom in our news section, you'll constantly see new announcements and latest webinars will all be posted here. Also, make sure you follow us on your favorite social media, whether that's LinkedIn, Twitter, or Facebook. You always see the latest announcements there. And all the recordings of previous webinars, you can either find them in the media library here on our website, or the other one we'd highly recommend too is also subscribe to, so in here when this loads, there's a bunch of previous webinars will all be here. The other one is subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's a bunch of new content being updated at the moment. At the moment, it's only the previous webinars, but early next week, you'll see a bunch of new videos around configuring, troubleshooting, not only on the Teams offering, but also on our cloud phone system, and also sales, education, technical stuff, digital transformation, and how to help your customers down that digital transformation journey. We've got a bunch of new videos that will be updated next week, so highly recommend subscribing to our new YouTube channel, as you'll always get the latest up-to-date content from there. But thank you everyone for joining us today. This video will be uploaded here probably within the next hour or so. So if you are looking to rewatch it, or you had some staff in the office that weren't able to make it, you'll be able to see it there. And we look forward to seeing you on Friday. We have got the next webinar on Friday. Just to, I don't mean to drill it in again, but where you find that is on our main website under news. We do have the next webinar on Friday, which is on how to monetize Microsoft Teams. So where the previous ones has been more product and sales related, we are deep diving into how you bundle, how you sell, and put that together, and how we've seen successful partners really drive additional revenue for their business and build those additional product offerings and solutions for their business. So thank you for joining us today. And as always, if you've got any questions, please feel free to reach out to myself or Craig. We're more than happy to answer any questions that you may have. Thanks again, and we look forward to seeing you guys on Friday. Thank you.